I know, I just speak louder.
All righty. Okay, could we get,
Don't know if hers is.
yeah,
working.
I don't know if mine's working.
Speak into it.
Hello?
There you go.
Okay, you gotta speak louder. Okay, all righty. Hello, everybody. It's time to start the meeting. It's 5:30, August 6th. Roll call, please.
Mayor Buell, Counselor Youssef,
Yes, here.
Counselor Bosmans,
Present.
Counselor Woodruff, here. Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Here. May we have the introduction of the translator?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Diego Ponce here, the interpreter for today's meeting. I hope you can hear my audio okay. If not, please let me know. I'm here today with my colleague Valentina Sarmiento. We're here with the CLC. As always, we're going to provide interpretation in English and Spanish for today's Zoom call. Once I finish giving the instructions, we activate the interpretation. You'll see that globe icon that will appear in the bottom right-hand corner of your computer screen, which will say interpretation. Please select that globe icon and please choose your preferred language. And if you're joining the meeting on your cell phone or your tablet, please look for the more button or the three dots button to select your preferred language this other way. So as always, if you're not fully bilingual, we strongly encourage you to select your preferred language so you can use the interpretation if anyone's going to be speaking in the opposite language. And if you're bilingual, feel free to listen to everyone in the original language. Thank you so much for that. Buenas tardes a todos y a todas. Yo soy Diego Pons, estoy aquí con mi colega Valentina Sarmiento. Estamos aquí de parte del grupo el CLC. Como siempre, vamos a ofrecer la interpretación simultánea aquí en Zoom, en inglés y en español, en esta plataforma de Zoom. Cuando yo termine de dar esas instrucciones, vamos a activar la interpretación. En ese momento se va a activar el icono globo de la Tierra que dirá interpretación y va a aparecer ahí abajo en la derecha de su pantalla. Asegúrese, por favor, de elegir ese icono globo de la Tierra y, por favor, seleccione su idioma preferido. Pero si hoy usted está asistiendo a la reunión en su celular o en su tableta, busque por favor la opción que dice More, que quiere decir más, o posiblemente el botón de 3 puntos para que pueda elegir su idioma preferido de esta otra manera. Así que si usted no es completamente bilingüe, le vamos a aconsejar que elija su idioma preferido para que pueda utilizar la interpretación cuando alguien está hablando en el otro idioma. Y si usted sí es bilingüe, siéntase libre de escuchar a todos hoy en su idioma original. Muchas gracias.
Okay, thank you. Okay, number 3, opening remarks by mayor or council. Any opening remarks? Seeing none, moving on, we have number 4, presentations and proclamations. Okay, we have a proclamation recognizing August as Foster Friendly Month. And Courtney Williams of Colorado Kids Belong. So I'll read this proclamation. Let me come down there. Is Courtney here? Okay, proclamation recognizing August as Foster Friendly Month. Whereas our children in foster care deserve to have a safe, stable, and loving family where they can thrive and belong while they wait to return home or find a new permanent home. And whereas kinship, foster parents provide a valuable service in our community by opening their hearts and homes to these children and are in a vital need of the support of the community. Whereas Durango should be known as a champion for kids in foster care and their families, and that care for them by committing to ensure every child in foster care in Durango, Colorado has a home and a sense of belonging from a caring community. Whereas through our partnership with Colorado Kids Belong, Durango is embarking on a new initiative to become foster friendly, where government, business, and faith-based sectors work in tandem to address the needs of the foster community. And whereas Colorado Kids Belong, whose mission is to improve the experience and outcomes for children in foster care, and will empower the people of Durango to recognize that regardless of one's occupation, skill set, and life stage, one has a unique ability and opportunity to impact the lives of children in foster care. Now, therefore, be it resolved, Gil Diazzi, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Durango, do hereby proclaim August 2024 as Foster Friendly Month. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed to the seal of this document from the City of Durango, this 6th day of August 2024. Congratulations. Here we go. Okay, are there any manager updates?
Yes, Mayor and Council, we do have one city manager update, the recognition of our 911 communications CALIA Public Safety Accreditation. And I do believe we have a presentation by Zeta on this.
Hello again, Mayor and Council. Zeta Fail. As of this moment, I'm the director of the 911 Center. We've got some action on that later, but we did achieve our accreditation, and I want to express to you exactly how significant that is. CALIA accreditation for public safety communications is a voluntary process, and it's undertaken by agencies who want to have continuous improvement and provide the very best level of service possible to their citizens and their responders. There are 209 standards that have to be complied with. And then there is an assessment that takes place from people that are not from the state of Colorado. They come from communications and public safety agencies over the United States. They come in and inspect your files, and then they inspect your facilities, and they look at all your policies and your processes. So I said earlier in study session, we are one of 7 here in the state of Colorado that are accredited, and then one of 137 in the nation. And I think that's significant, is considering how many communication centers there are, that we have been able to undertake this and be successful with it. Our on-site inspection was in April. We appeared before a board of commissioners for accreditation at the end of July. They had very favorable things to say about the agency and the compliance with the standards. It does reduce liability. It helps us have accountability. It ensures that we have processes in place and that we can analyze data and make good decisions based on, you know, what type of business we're actually doing. So the focus is on quality assurance and just a good level of service, superior level of service to the community here for Durango and all of La Plata County. So I do want to say that that was a very aggressive timeline in getting us accredited. We had a lot of people that put a lot of hours and a lot of work into it. Could not have been done without each and every one of them. We have some of our folks in the crowd today, and I appreciate them for all the support and hard work that they've done to help us get to that point. And you have every right to be proud of your communications center. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we have committee and board reports.
Sure, I can take a crack at it. We, as the Chamber of Board, the Chamber of Commerce, Selection Committee, we had, more interviews this week for the second round of interviews on the next CEO of the, Chamber of Commerce. They went really well. We look forward to having a meeting later on this week to discuss the interviews and make a final selection for the position. So super exciting to, kind of round out the finalization of that process. We also had a watershed wildfire protection fund meeting on July 17th. Lauren Russell, who is the fire mitigation manager for the Durango Fire Protection District, spoke on the WIN grant. And basically the WIN grant is a grant that has funds available for private landowners that want to mitigate their property from wildfire. Additionally, we're trying to address water quality impacts to the San Juan Basin watershed and get baseline metrics with the local focus on the Florida River, because that's the primary water source for the city. So we're trying to also identify high impact areas and disproportionately impacted areas. So it's a lot of work that a few people are doing on wildfire mitigation. It's not as glamorous as I make it sound. But it's an imperative part of our sustainability and long-term projection as we kind of grow our community. Also was able to be at the ribbon cutting at Buckley Park with Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie and Mayor Buell last Thursday. So it was a great time to celebrate the new acquisition of Buckley Park as an asset to the city of Durango. And now that we're proud owners, it was important to celebrate that and recognize that. So yeah, that's all I have.
I attended the Airport Commission meeting on July 18th. Just a couple notes. Phase 1A, they're wrapping up the 2 new facility restrooms. The corridors opened up. So final wrap up will take place in mid-September. Total project timeline of this project has been 17 months approximately. Cell phone coverage is poor in the new 1A space, significantly worse than they had hoped when they're looking at a cell phone boosting system, and we'll look at opportunities across the board. So that will become a change request for all of us once they get a solution. And then they're also now heavily have been looking at 1B, the next step in this airport expansion. They're waiting for the FAA grant. It's backlogged, but likely to happen in late September or August. The grant is $10.7 million for the funding of this project. And once we get that grant go through, then we'll likely get moving with none construction on the ground. That'll be the first part of 1B. They also looked at parking and took a big look at the new parking spaces. Total paved and unpaved parking now is up 4.4%. We looked at comparisons with other airports, and Durango does well in terms of parking spaces for daily employments. It's the second highest out of 9 that they compared with. So above average in terms of space per employments, and discussed how to add parking, and we looked at forecasting among looking at the budget for next year as well.
Thank you. Let's see now. I attended the Regional Housing Authority retreat on the 31st, and we discussed what we're going to do long-term going forward with our housing projects and how we're going to interact with all the different cities, Ignacio, Bayfield, us in the county. And we just kind of fielded our ideas for the coming year. So that was really good. And I also did the solar installation at the rec center on July 17th. We did the ribbon cutting for our project there. And that's about all. All right. Okay, so number 7, could you play the recording for public comment on agenda items only?
Public comment is encouraged on specific items published on tonight's agenda. These items will be announced by the mayor. Public comments on non-agenda items come later in the meeting. Please note, you must sign up prior to the mayor calling the item on the agenda. Signing up after the item is called will result in your name not being called to speak. Please begin your comments by stating your full name, the agenda item you intend to speak on, and if you are a resident of the city of Durango. Make your comments directly to the council. Do not expect a response from the council or staff. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, unless modified by the council. Unused time is not transferable to other speakers. Comments must be specific to city matters on tonight's agenda. Profanity, hate speech, derogatory remarks, speech unrelated to published agenda matters, or other speech that is disruptive to the meeting will be ruled out of order by the chair, and any remaining time will be forfeited by the speaker. Exceeding the time limit infringes on the rights of others and is out of order. Only a majority vote of the council can modify time limits.
And Ben, do we have anybody signed up for public comment?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is slightly challenging to sort this large group here, but it looks like we have several people who signed up to speak under 8.3.2, one individual. Give me just one moment here. And that is John Simpson.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie, I'm signed up to speak on 3 things. Would you like me to speak on all 3 right now? Would you like me to speak on all 3 now?
Why don't we start with 8.31?
Well,
And then-
8.3.2, and then I'll come back on
Alrighty, go
12.1
ahead.
and 12.2. Does that sound like a plan? Or I can do
Sure,
them all
go
3
ahead.
at once.
Just go ahead and get started, and then, because we've got a lot of people behind you.
Okay, I'll talk about 8.3.2 and then you can call me back later. This is the resolution to approve the auditor. The last time I spoke about the auditor process was right before Julie Brown got caught stealing money. She defended this same process where it's good to have an auditor for many years. And city council dismissed my concerns. I'll be repeating many of these same concerns. This is one of your most important jobs, selecting an auditor. The auditor works for you. The auditor does not work for city staff. There are benefits for the staff to get a friendly auditor because audits come out clean and the auditor gets paid well. But this isn't the purpose of an audit. Our charter says an audit is a yearly process and is selected by city council. Nothing in charter allows for a 5-year contract. Tabor also prohibits a multi-year obligation. Whatever auditor is selected should demand that an annual contract be followed, and it will show that they actually understand charter and Tabor. Any firm that says they need more than 1 year should be immediately dismissed. It's important to remove the city manager and the chief financial officer from this process. This is a council process. Charter says that it is a council process. By the time October comes around and the recommendation comes to the 3 of you who are excluded from the process, it'll be too late to add any input. Charter requires this to be a council decision, not a staff decision. Please exclude the city manager from the process and don't allow for a multi-year contract. Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Thank you.
And so we have several people signed up to speak under 8.6.1. And the first individual we'll have is Bill Lemaire, and that'll be followed by Kelly Hahn.
Bill Lemaire, 2018 East Second Avenue, Durango. And as you heard, I'm going to talk to you about the agenda item related to a motion for an ordinance regarding the new Head Start facility or the proposed Head Start facility at the vacant lot at 1917 East Third Avenue. I'm going to ask you to table this motion tonight, postpone it, move it down the road. And the reason is that many people in the neighborhood just do not feel that we have all the information we need about this proposal. I've never even seen the proposal, the intent to award proposal. I don't know what's in it. I have seen architect renderings and so forth, but point is many of us feel a little bit in the dark, and we feel like new articles in the newspaper, social media posts, motions. It feels like this is a train that just won't stop and we don't know where it's headed. So the other problem I think a lot of us are having, and it's not that we're against a Head Start facility. We think that's a great idea to build a new facility for Head Start. We know the childcare situation in Durango is, badly needed. More childcare, inexpensive childcare. So we support that. It's just this process that has been a little bit strange, I think. So what we're asking in particular, the other thing is that the request for proposal was related to this one vacant lot at 1917 East 3rd Avenue. The winning proposal, however, involves 2 lots. And we're not quite, and plus I see in tonight's documents that there's a private owner involved. Who is that and why? So I guess my point is there are so many questions about this, at least for the people who live in the neighborhood that's going to be impacted. We would like to see these two lots be treated separately. The Head Start, the vacant lot in 1917, be treated on a completely different track. And then the housing development project be also vetted in a different track. So that's where we just think it's time to perhaps slow down a little bit. Maybe I don't even know if you're fully informed on these proposals. We're not, and we live there. So I think we'd like to ask you to, postpone this tonight, table the motion, move it down the road. We're not obstructionists. We're not trying to stop anything. We just want to know what's happening. So that's my request to you tonight. Thank you. Appreciate your time and consideration.
Thank you.
And the next individual to speak under 8.6.1 is Kelly Hahn, and that's going to be followed by Aline Schwab.
Hello. My name is Kelly Hahn. And I am here to talk about the proposed lease agreement ordinance for lot number 1917 East 3rd Avenue. I am here as one of the members of the Library Neighborhood Association to formally request the City Council to table the discussion tonight regarding the ordinance proposal for the leasing agreement for the 1917 East 3rd lot. I live in the neighborhood that would be directly impacted by the city proposed development plans in this area and feel that the city has not been transparent nor provided the neighborhood with ample time and information or proper engagement to provide input on development in this unique area. An RFP that was presented to the public in February 2014 this year only addressed the 1917 East 3rd Avenue lot for development. However, the city of Durango accepted a proposal that included 2 phases that involved a second city lot, 2019 East 3rd Avenue, the current Head Start facility. The proposal was not in compliance with the RFP and should be revoked, dismissed. If the city intended on 2 separate projects, it should be included as 2 separate formal processes where the local neighborhood and community at large should be included in the process. 1 lot, 1 proposal, 2 lots, 2 proposals. The communication by the city on these lots has been poor with little opportunity for community engagement. Again, I ask that you stop the process of the ordinance on this lot until appropriate community engagement has been completed. The neighborhood would like more input on parking, access, and design before an ordinance is passed. Additionally, please revoke the intent to award RFP to Reynolds, Ash, and Agave for the 2019 East 3rd lot. Again, the RFP this spring clearly stated that it was an RFP for the 1917 East 3rd lot. Thus, Reynolds, Ash, and Agave are non-compliant in submitting a bid that includes a different city lot. This bid should be omitted as not adhering to the RFP guidelines. The city then needs to begin the process of community engagement for this very special publicly owned lot and determine how the citizens of Durango wish to use this unique city public lot. Additionally, the city stated last night that a $5 million grant was awarded for this project. Pending who the entity is in receiving these funds or not, there could be a potential conflict of interest with this project. It appears the VP of Head Start, Diana Reynolds, is the spouse of the president owner of Reynolds Ash, Tracy Reynolds. Our neighborhood is not, Our neighborhood is not afraid of change because that is our constant in life, and change is a part of living in Durango. However, to clarify, we support a thoughtful, community-based process for these public assets. We expect the process to respect the unique and historical neighborhood and also the unique character of Durango. Please consider tabling the discussion regarding the ordinance proposal tonight for the leasing agreement for 1917 East Third. Thank you. Sorry, I went over.
And next is Aline Schwab, and that'll be followed by Chris Paulson.
Thank you. My name is Aline Schwab. I live at 340 East Park Avenue. I can't add anything more to what the previous two speakers have said, but I completely agree with what they said. We are not afraid of change. We just want some transparency here. Thank you.
And then next will be Chris Paulson, followed by Martha Evers.
My name is Chris Paulson. I live at 423 East 30th Street in Durango. And I agree with everything everyone has said up to this point in time. I just add a couple of additional comments. I don't live in that neighborhood right by the library, but I go to the library real regularly. And I do agree that it is a unique, it's a special place, and any development that goes in there needs to be compatible with the library and the users of the library and the botanic gardens that are there. I'm concerned that there were 3 proposals made according to what we learned at the neighborhood meeting yesterday. And so April 9th, proposals due. You have 3 proposals. Then it says April 24, evaluation of proposals. And yet, when we asked, it was who evaluated. City staff evaluated these proposals. There was no opportunity for community members to take a look at these proposals before we move to the next step where you do interviews. And now we're already at the stage of entering into a lease. Somehow, yeah, the community engagement piece has been totally ignored. So I would agree that this needs to be tabled. We, as the community members, need to take a look at all 3 of those proposals that were submitted in a timely and thoughtful manner and see whether or not we also would prefer as a community one of the other proposals or a modification of the current proposals. And everything that's been said about if you're going to ask for proposals on one particular block, then you need to only accept proposals on that particular block and not on 2 or 3 others. So I'm extremely offended by the lack of community involvement and the lack of the council and the city and the staff to engage the public on this process, which is a concern to every citizen in the city of Durango. Thank you.
And next will be Martha Evers, followed by Jackie Bonanno.
Thank you for your time. The city seems to be allowing Reynolds Ash and Associates, an architectural firm, to dictate how the city handles its protocol with proposals for development. In the library neighborhood, the firm submitted a bid citing phase 1 and phase 2 in their bid. This was for 1917 East 3rd. Basically a twofer is what they proposed. They wanted to develop 2 lots. And now it's become kind of a coined phrase when we're talking to the city that this is acceptable, and that I have understood from previous planning department leaders that this is not normal to do this. And for some reason, the city seems to be just fine with it. It's so bizarre. And the other, I repeat what was said about a possible conflict of interest between Tracy Reynolds, the winning bid proposer, being married to Diane Reynolds, Vice President of Tri-County Head Start. The city is partner with the county and also is partially paying her salary. We actually want to work with the city, but the lack of transparency, we canvassed our neighborhood and probably, I would say 10 to 15% received those cards from you guys. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, the owner of the medical, where the Sangha is, he had no idea of what the plans were. He hadn't received anything. This is just constant. We held a meeting for 20 people we held a meeting and 20 people showed in an absolute downpour because they wanted to find out what was going on in the neighborhood. And since then, our membership has is now 35 to 45. And as of this morning, after that meeting last night, 50 people in our neighborhood. And we are frustrated that we feel like we've been left out of this process. It's not for not calling. We have, basically it's been non-responsive, the city has. So we have been calling, we've been emailing, and what is it? It said, we are sworn to silence in obligation to the city taxpayer.
3 minutes
Sure.
is up.
I would hope that you will not pass this ordinance tonight. I hope you will not. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next individual for 8.6.1 is Jackie Bonanno, and that's going to be followed by John Simpson for 12.1.
Hi, thanks for having me tonight. I'm Jackie Bonanno, and last night at our community meeting, we were told by Scott Shine, I don't think the process is really what you're concerned about. It's that change is scary. And a lot of us in the community found this to be really insulting because the process or lack thereof was our number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 concern. There wasn't a process, and the process was not made clear around a property at 2019 East 3rd Avenue. Now, while we know that you're only approving a leasing agreement for 1917, a proposal was put in for both lots. And that blindsided us. And we are concerned that if you approve this leasing agreement tonight, that is putting the wheels in motion for the project at 2019, which is using public property for private profit and gain. Is our city okay with that? This is a private architect and builder, and there is not a track record of their housing that they develop for all of it to be low-income housing. That is not guaranteed. Their most recent project was under 20%. So to call this workforce housing, which I know is not a focus of tonight, is in name only, I would have to say. When I built a garage that required a variance, there was a process. We had it posted. We sent out a mailer to everyone within a certain radius. It was physically posted in front of our house for one garage. Everybody knew about it. It doesn't seem out of the question to do a similar process, that the city should follow a similar process for such 2 huge and important pieces of land that belong to the city. Public property used for private gain is not okay. And by approving the lease agreement for 1917, we are inadvertently putting wheels in motion for 2019 because we don't agree, but they are tied together in this proposal. And our community and our city was uninformed. Let's not set this protocol. Thank you for your time.
And next is John Simpson for item 12.1.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie, John Simpson, city resident. I'm here to discuss another possible charter violation with the council tonight. In 2016, the citizens of Durango voted on an airport debt, and it was defeated. Whether citizens agreed with the result or not is not important. The important thing is people were given a voice on a multi-year obligation as required by charter. Charter is more strict than Tabor. Any long-term debt, no matter where the revenues come from, according to charter, must be voted on. The loan agreement in the agenda docs says the borrower is an enterprise fund of the city of Durango. You know who the lender will come after if there's a default on the loan? The city of Durango. I may actually support this loan. I actually like the debt because it forces the citizens in the future who will be using the structure pay for the structure. But doing an end run around charter removes the citizen's voice. A pretty common theme tonight, I think. I'll be looking into the referendum process, and I hope the other people in this room do as well. But I would prefer you just put this on the November ballot. You already told the county you were going to do a ballot issue. Just put on another question. It likely will pass. Or an even better idea is to use another fund to provide the money for the loans. The city has approximately $125 million of fund reserves sitting there, losing value in a low interest bank account. There is nothing less risky than loaning money to yourself at a steady interest rate where you're gaining the benefit of the interest. This is a win-win situation. Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
And for 12.2, John Simpson can speak on that.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie. I'm still John Simpson and still a city resident. Again, the staff is putting something together to have you follow their lead. This is for the council rules of procedures. We elected you 5 to run this meeting. We don't want the city attorney and the city manager running these meetings. But this resolution, you are giving them full power to add items to the agenda, but you are hamstringing yourself from adding items. If you're aligned with the city manager and the city attorney at the time, this ordinance fits you well. But things ebb and flow. And although you may like the city attorney and the city manager today, that may change. I also do not support the limiting of the reconsideration of a ordinance for 18 months. Some of you will soon be gone, and this ordinance will allow any poor decision to carry on into the future after you're gone. That is unfair to any newly elected councilor. Also, staff has come up with this meeting process we're in the middle of, and it's not conducive to public comment. If the public wants to speak about something that isn't on the agenda, we have to wait until the end of the meeting, whatever time that may be. Why not place public comment up front like the old city manager and the old city council used to do? That worked well. Staff knows that if you place public comment at the end, fewer people will stay and speak. Regarding the public comment on the agenda item we have going on right now, it makes no sense to force a resident at the beginning of the meeting before staff has made their presentation to speak. A citizen now is supposed to guess what city staff is going to be speaking about later on. You know, and it'll be easy for city staff later to rebut anything I say right now because I only know half the story. Why not allow citizens to speak after staff gives their presentation so that we can give you a little more information and a better informed opinion? If I was a counselor, that's what I would want. This experiment of having the city manager and city council, the city manager and city attorney directing city council is not sustainable. Cracks are developing, court cases are being lost, state legislation is being passed. We have a room full of people. Please don't pass this ordinance. Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
Thank you. Do we have any more public comment? Yes, sweetie.
My name is Sweetie Marbury, and I've been a resident for 50 years and a city councilor for 8. And I happen to agree with John Simpson. And we don't always agree on many items, but I read the documentation that you are going to limit future city councils and nothing can be brought up for 18 months. That's not right. That's just wrong, in my opinion. Has nothing to do with Mr. Morgan or the city manager. It's not sustainable. We have at least 2 or 3 people that will be gone in the next city election. Why are you hamstringing future city councils? It's not smart. I agree. When I was on city council, we had public participation at the beginning of the meeting and then people could leave. And now we're going to sit here until 13 comes up. The structure, and I have talked to Mr. Morgan about this at a mayor's meeting, that this is not a good structure for the residents. Starting city council at 5:30 is even hard for working people to show up. Some of you have more time than other people, but I know that my family couldn't be here at 5:30. I can be here at 5:30 to speak. And I think I'm speaking for a lot of residents. I've been here in the past where there's no one here. There's only people here that come for their own items on the agenda, or very few people come to city council anymore. You've got a room full of people because there's a contentious issue going on. I think this is not a good plan for you as a city council and the next ones to be elected in April. I object to that. As a former city councilor and a mayor, this is not good strategy. When I read it, I didn't agree with it. And I'm sorry I didn't sign up ahead of time, but this is not good for the city of Durango. Thank you.
And there was one individual who signed up after the deadline, Eve Pressler. You're welcome to come up and talk.
Just, we have our record clear that there was a motion to allow it, so we don't set a precedent without a motion.
Okay, so you want a motion to suspend the rules?
Take a motion to suspend the rules on public comment to allow people to comment after the period for signing up was closed.
Okay, I make a motion to suspend the rules to allow other people to make a public comment after the time period has run out.
Second.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
and Counselor Bosman's.
Yes.
Motion passes. Please proceed to your public comment.
Thank you, Mayor Yazzie and City Council. I just ironically was one of many that Sweetie spoke of. I couldn't be here at 5:30 and I did sign up. So Eve Pressler, city resident, 231 East 20th Street. And I'm here just to give a heartfelt ask that you take pause on any decision-making processes that has to do with the 1917 East 3rd Avenue plot and the adjacent lot. Any of you who know me, and a couple of you do, I have spent 30 years working tirelessly for vulnerable populations. I am wholeheartedly for childcare. I believe in increasing childcare. Many of you know me. We have gone toe-to-toe on affordable housing for our most vulnerable populations. So I support affordable housing, but I do not support the way that these processes are taking place. Specifically 1917, any decisions that you would make tonight give an inference that this is going to move forward. And I would love to see the process halted and reevaluated with information that is coming to light. And I don't need to take my last minute and 13 seconds, but that is my ask, that we pump the brakes on this and gather more information, because this is a flawed process and it has not been inclusive, and it has been slanted to where other proposals, such as the community garden, which had resounding support, couldn't even be considered. So there's a lot of information that we have as a very strong neighborhood association. We support a Head Start. I think at the existing location, a bigger, better, beautiful building would be totally appropriate, but we would have to start at square one. So please don't move forward with any decision-making. Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so item number 8, the consent agenda. Are there any counselors who would like to pull an item from the consent agenda?
Only, we read out the consent agenda. I can
Okay.
pull the item.
Okay,
If you want.
sorry, go ahead.
No problem. Here's a reading of the consent agenda. Under item 8.1, approval of meeting minutes, we have 8.1.1, which is approval of the July 16th, 2024 City Council regular meeting minutes. Under 8.2, final reading of ordinances, we have 8.2.1, which is final reading of ordinance O 2024-11 for an easement for Black Hills Energy to service the Durango-La Plata County Airport. There are 2 items under 8.3, adoption of resolutions by consent. 8.3.1 is a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign a La Plata County Election Services Intergovernmental Agreement, or an IGA, for the November 5th, 2024 election. 8.3.2 is a resolution to approve the process for selection of the external city auditors. There are no items under approval of other administrative items, no items under request for a public hearing. And then under 8.6, introduction of ordinances, there's item 8.6.1, introduction of ordinance authorizing the leasing of city-owned property located at 1917 East 3rd Avenue to Head Start Durango 4C Council Tri-County Head Start Program, scheduled for August 20th, 2024. And then under item 8.7, request for excused absences. 8.7.1 is a request for an excused absence by Jessica Buell for the August 6, 2024 City Council meeting. 8.7.2 is a request for excused absence by Melissa Youssef for the August 20th, 2024 City Council meeting.
I'd like to remove 8.6.1.
You go for a call for the consent agenda minus 8.6.1.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 8.6.1.
Second.
All righty, could we have roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazi,
Yes.
Councilor Woodruff,
Yes.
Councilor Youssef,
Yes.
and Councilor Bosmans.
I'll make a motion to continue item 8.6.1.
You're moving to table it? Okay. Need a second.
And how can we get discussion?
After a second.
Sorry.
Okay, so can you give us a definition of table?
Table means that it's, usually we move the table to a specific meeting in the future. If you don't identify it, it goes to the next. A motion requires a second. Without a second, it dies. Now someone would have to move on the motion itself. To get it.
Okay, I'll second.
I'll make my comment. Many concerns have been raised via email as well as today. Thank you for voicing your concerns. These are implied to be separate projects. They seem to be very aligned. It's very easy to get overall support by focusing on childcare, which I agree is very needed, and then including other aspects, changes, or impacts that may not be well liked. And this now is your neighborhood. It happens in other projects in other neighborhoods. So Unfortunately, now it's you guys. Once the intent to award a contract is issued, which I understand has happened, and once a lease is authorized, for which today this consent agenda item is a first step, it seems highly likely to move forward. And we see that on other projects too. So these projects have been worked out by the city. It seems little awareness or involvement from our community until recently. Despite the neighborhood plan, which I didn't hear about, but that's an interesting aspect. And there are some requirements in there too. Nor did it have many involvement of council. We didn't participate in any RFP process or bid reviews, at least not me. And we are supposed to represent you. Councilor Jazzy, I understand you had attended the neighborhood meeting. I'm going to ask you a question. You had mentioned two items, one being that one adjacent property owner was getting a sweetheart deal, and the second being the relationship between developer and Head Start. Where did that information come from, if you're willing to answer it?
So
But
you guys are kind of way out of line for a motion to table on a motion that was only brought here to move forward to consideration. You're actually doing the public a disservice by having this much discussion about something that has actually been moved forward for discussion by you. So again, you're one step removed because this only was on the agenda tonight to be introduced. And our charter is very clear. You introduce something before you have your first consideration. Then you went a step further away to table it, and now you're discussing the merits. So again, you guys have a lot of authority as a counselors to talk about what you want to, but I'm just telling you procedurally, you're way far from just a simple motion to table. And you can be criticized that by the public in the future because it's not on the agenda for this type of discussion.
consideration, can we move to a vote?
So what's on the floor now is a motion to table. That's all that's on the floor. A motion to table the introduction. That is what's on the floor.
Just so you know, I asked a question. You don't have to answer my question. That's completely clear if you want to.
Position. Can I just get some clarity here? So this is for an introduction of an ordinance, correct? So this means that we are going to introduce this to give public notice that at the next meeting, we are going to discuss potentially the merits of this lease agreement. So this is an introduction saying that we're going to give the public 2 weeks notice to speak about this on August 20th. Just wanted to make that clear.
That's correct. And that's what the charter calls for. And I understand it's confusing. I understand it's almost ironic because some of the comments tonight were don't pass anything. You're not being transparent, but this is part of the process that if you let it play out, where the transparency comes. This is part of the process where if you let it play out, the public comment and public input comes. So, and it's not a comment to anyone in Center tonight, but we kind of have the cart before the horse. So I'll stop there.
So this is just for an introduction.
It's
We're not
it's for an
settling
introduction.
any leasing agreement.
Okay, I have a question, Mark, and this is a procedural. Okay, so if we go ahead and table it tonight, it will come up at the next council meeting. We can reintroduce 6.1, 6.1, and then we can vote on it. If we table it tonight, it'll give time to have the community meeting, which is happening on August 15th. Is that correct?
Correct, except that I understand that the community meeting on August 16th is actually about other items. In other words, public comment was very misleading tonight. There were a lot of comments made about things that weren't technically on the agenda, but you guys like to have meetings where there was little restriction of speech as you can. So a lot of the comments that were made tonight were about items that aren't technically on the agenda yet. And they won't technically be on the agenda for many months, as I understand the process. The only thing that was on the agenda tonight was the approval as a lease with the Head Start program. Does that dovetail into other things? Potentially, yes, but there's just a bunch of forks in the road for the process to play out. The only thing that should happen tonight is you guys should be deciding if you want to put consideration, discussion of that lease and any bigger picture on the agenda to speak about on August 20th.
And of course, if the majority of the council doesn't want to even take that step, they don't have to. But that's what the charter calls for, is limited discussion for introduction only, robust discussion after it's been out there and advertised for at least 2 weeks at the subsequent council meeting.
When every counselor is done, I would like to have my next 3 minutes to respond to this.
Does anybody else have an opinion here? So basically, we're still at considering. Okay, I made a second to table it. We haven't voted on it. And if we do go ahead and table it, it will come up for reconsideration, this same ordinance at the next council
It'll come
meeting.
up for introduction in 2 weeks,
Right.
where it still wouldn't be appropriate to discuss the merits.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
I'm concerned that if we table it tonight, can we talk about that? Because we are talking about tabling the ordinance.
That's what's on the floor.
I'm
It's the
concerned
motion
if we
to table.
table the ordinance tonight, that it will hurt the process altogether. I think it would hurt the grant that Head Start is applying for, which is critically important, I think, in our community for childcare. And I think that has real implications on that process that need to be considered.
The grant has not been awarded, correct?
It hasn't, they would like to start applying for it.
Right, and part of that was this lease agreement that they were going to get for $10 a month, right? And then that
Correct.
would be towards that public-private partnership where they can leverage those funds as part of that grant
That's correct.
application process, right? So the grant has not been awarded yet. The grant is still up for application,
The
from
grant
my
still-
understanding.
Correct. And, but the, by moving forward, if it moves forward tonight, then they're able to start submitting applications for that grant.
I think when we speak of process, we have issued the intent to award the contract. And we are starting the process of a lease. All of this has already been completed. So the whole project, the RFP, all of this. So is it the horse in front of the cart or the cart? I see it the other way around. We should have the order in a different sequence where we make sure that the community is well informed, that we are well informed as council in the direction that we believe our community wants to go, and provide that direction to staff to execute what it is that we believe our community wants. So I guess that's where I see the process as being flawed and the horse behind the cart.
Can I respond?
Yes.
Given that this is an introduction only, the public hearing would take place at the next meeting if this is not tabled on the 20th, and we would have a full staff report at the August 20th meeting. And they would talk then about the process. The community meeting will have had taken place. We will hear from our public at that time in detail about the process. And that's when the public comment should take place, is at that meeting. And then we will hear, and that's all part of the transparency of the process. That's a big part of it.
Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll have roll call.
Counselor Bosmans,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazi, and Counselor Youssef.
No.
So just a reminder that a tie vote is a failed vote. So the motion to table fails. This puts you in your process at the point of getting a motion and a second for 8.6.1, which is the motion to introduce the ordinance. Correct.
Table the ordinance failed, so we'll continue with any motions.
I move to introduce an ordinance authorizing the leasing of city-owned property located at 1917 East Third Avenue to Head Start Durango 4C City Council Tri-County Head Start Program.
I'll second.
Could we have a roll call? Oh, discussion? Hearing none, could we have a roll call?
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
No.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie.
No.
So to make sure I get this right, that means this ordinance is done. It failed. Therefore, it doesn't come back,
It would have to be reintroduced.
but not by staff, but by council. That's all I needed to know. Thank you.
Correct. Same rule applies, tie vote fails.
Okay, moving on. 8.7, request for excuse absences. Oh, wait, excuse me, we had that. Number 9, items pulled from consent agenda. We did that. Okay, so number 10, public hearing. And resolutions, number 11.
11.1, we have an approval of the promotion of Katie Fox to the position of the 911 director. Police Chief Bryce Current will be here to present that item.
Hello, Pro Tem Mayor, Council, Bryce Current, Chief of Police, Durango Police Department. So today I'm here for two things. For two reasons. One is to acknowledge Zita Fail as she steps down from the 911 Communications Director, and an approval for an internal promotion of Catherine Fox as the 911 Communications Director. So first, I want to extend our heartfelt thanks to Zita for her exemplary leadership and invaluable contributions during her tenure as the 911 Communications Director. So I'm going to read a little bit of history. So when she was recruited for a temporary position in 2021, the staff consisted of 16 operators on the floor and an organizational strength of 20. They did not have a director or an IT position or an operations manager. She focused on trust, building a good culture, and strategic planning. The next director did not work out, so she returned again in 2022. By then, there were only 7 team members on the operations floor, 1 admin analyst for a total staff of 8 out of 24. Of the 8 individuals that were still working, they retained 6. The 6 members, a lot of them are here today, who weathered the storm, provided a blueprint for work ethic and loyalty. The dispatch leadership team has been instrumental in building a work culture that has resulted in the existing staff of 14 in operations and 6 in administration. They now have 20 out of a total of 28 positions filled. The organization has updated its infrastructure, changed the work culture, and become an accredited communications center, as you heard already today. So we all know Zita. She has a remarkable talent for negotiating with a touch of Southern charm. She makes you feel right at ease, even if it means hearing "bless your heart." Her leadership wit have genuinely made an exceptional impact on all of us. Zita's leaving, but we're trying to find a place for her to continue assisting with the strategic planning process with finance, which dovetails nicely into her accreditation experience. Zita's dedication and expertise and unwavering commitment to building a team while focusing on professional capital have significantly contributed to our success, and we want to thank her for her service.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, I'm not going to turn down an opportunity to say something. So, first of all, you know, I was a conduit for getting this done. I merely supported the people that stuck it out. And I can't say enough good things about the 6 individuals that were the core group that weathered the chaos and stuck with us. You know, we had people that had left the organization that came back in a part-time status just to help us get a little bit further ahead. And so, you know, I also have really enjoyed working with then Chief Brammer and City Manager Jose. When I decided to stay, I said, I'm going to need some tools to make this happen. And the city has really gone above and beyond supporting. So I'd like to say I took credit for it, but it was a joint effort between the city administration, the supportive city council, and the people that stuck with it and did the job. So I've really enjoyed working with y'all. Look forward to a little bit more maybe as we go down the road. Thank you very much.
Okay, now this is a formal request for your approval. So there's a formal request for your approval to promote Catherine. I'm not used to calling her Catherine Fox, to the dispatch 911 director position. Katie is a resident of Durango, has been for 20 years. She brings a wealth of experience to the table with over 15 years of dispatch experience. Her commitment to servant leadership is evident in her interactions with her team, and she's eager to contribute to the executive leadership team that we have here. As a mom of two, we change that, as an incredible mother to Betsy and Remy. Remy's here. I want to congratulate Remy for sitting through all this. She balances remarkable work ethic with the demands of her personal life, all while bringing a wealth of experience and unwavering ethical standards to her role as director. She joined the program in November of 2022 and has made an outstanding contribution, particularly in optimizing operations and building a training team and enhancing team cohesion. Council, we sincerely appreciate your ongoing support as we strengthen our team and pursue organizational excellence. We look forward to your favorable consideration of Katie's promotion.
Mayor and council, as this is a director appointment, obviously it has to have my recommendation, which it does. So I want to make sure that it does. And a big special thank you to Zita for helping us out in 911. And she will be staying in a different role for us in helping us with some accreditation of some other areas that we're looking at. So I just want to let you know that she will be here and doing some work for us still with the organization, but in a much different role and helping us and keeping that on. So we're very excited about having Zita. And then also just extremely excited about Katie stepping up and coming in. Katie, having been with the 911 department before, being the director at Archuleta County, coming back here about a year and a half ago, taking a chance and coming in and taking on a really special project and working with Zita to bring this back. I can't say enough about being able to have a culture in which people come back, and then also another internal promotion within our directors, which is also outstanding when that's possible. So I won't be too much, but congratulations. I assume that you will get promoted in a second, but thank you, Katie, for taking on the responsibility and going through the process. You're much appreciated.
So do we need to entertain a motion? Okay, I would like to motion that we promote Katie Fox to the position of 911 director.
Second.
Discussion? Could we have roll call?
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
and Counselor Bosmans.
Thank you so much.
Ben, can you make sure that that's reflected as a resolution with a resolution number in the minutes? Is that what's the intent?
Yes, sir. It'll be Resolution 45.
All righty, moving on. Item 12, first consideration of ordinances.
12.1 is first consideration of an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of funds by the Airport Enterprise Fund from the Colorado State Infrastructure Bank for terminal improvements at the Durango La Plata County Airport.
That you, Ben, or me? Like, okay, great. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. My name is Brad Riddle. I'm the airport's Operations and Project Manager, and I'm here to represent the airport and our strategic plan goal of providing reliable infrastructure and community connectivity. This is the first consideration of an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of funds by the Airport Enterprise Fund from Colorado State Infrastructure Bank for terminal improvements at the Durango La Plata County Airport. Here's a high-level overview of our mission, vision, and values. A little bit of background, passenger traffic at the Durango Airport has doubled over the last 2 decades and is now nearly 150% higher than 1988 when the existing terminal facility was constructed. Since the building's construction, only limited changes have been made to the facility. Approximately 50% of the usable square footage after TSA is comprised of the temporary tensile fabric structure. We call it the tent. Evolutions in the airline industry are leading to the utilization of larger aircraft to more efficiently carry passenger traffic. Modern and competitive regional airports must be sized to accommodate this larger fleet and the associated peaking periods of passenger traffic. This is a summary of the previous page and a line graph showing our emplanements since the year 2000. You can see the dip in traffic during the 2020 COVID pandemic, and then our 2024 forecast after that. As you know, we completed the design of Terminal Expansion Phase 1A in 2021 and 22. We broke ground in April of 23 and delivered that project in July of 2024. In concurrence, we were working through Phase 1B design in 2023 and 24, and we're planning to break ground on the second Phase 1B this fall of 2024. Key goals in Phase 1B are to relocate and expand the TSA screening checkpoint, relocate and expand baggage claim, develop new airline boarding gates and seating areas, reclaim boarding gate 3, where TSA is now, expand post-TSA concessions and dining, do a heavy remodel of existing pre-TSA space to include new and expanded public restrooms, concessions, and security queuing, expand airline offices and develop ticketing kiosks, and enable future solar PV installation on the roof lines. This is a floor plan of the current and future. So you can see our current ticketing and gate areas, as well as the new Phase 1A space in white on the bottom right. And then the darker gray area on the page right is Phase 1B. Here's some renderings of what we plan Phase 1B to look like. Baggage claim and security queuing. This is a breakdown of how the project is planned to be funded. As you know, the airport operates as an enterprise fund of the city of Durango. No city or county funds are utilized for airport operations or capital projects. The terminal expansion program utilizes an incremental development strategy that can be funded entirely through airport revenue streams. The FAA AIP program and bill grants, CDOT matching grant funds, airport earnings, and what we're here to talk about tonight, airport financing. This is a breakdown of the project funding through Phase 1A design all the way through phase 1B construction. And most notably, looking at 1B construction's breakdown of funding, as well as the proposed $8 million in airport financing that we're discussing this evening. The SIB loan program was enacted by the Colorado legislation in 1998. This unique funding source helps to develop transportation facilities with funds available through a low interest revolving loan program. This loan request is for $8 million over a 10-year term with 3.5% interest rates, no origination fee, and no prepayment penalties. It's also of note that this has been reviewed. The original application was reviewed by the Airport Commission as well as City Council previously. Our annual debt expenses on an $8 million loan through the State Infrastructure Bank will total approximately $962,000 annually over the 10-year term, and is planned to be serviced by our passenger facility charges, PFCs, and airport rates and operating income. This is a breakdown of the interest and balance over the 10-year term. And a high-level overview of our debt ratio. That's anticipated to be approximately 0.12. Anything under 0.5 is indicative of a healthy position. Our long-term debt of $9.7 million, while our total assets are $8.9 million. And this is a bar graph showing our airport's finances of unrestricted reserves, PFC funds, and CFCs over the 10-year term. And it's shows that we have stable PFC and CFC balances, and we can keep a fully funded capital improvement program. So I move to approve ordinance that will be named at a later date, authorizing the borrowing of funds by the airport enterprise from the Colorado State Infrastructure Bank for terminal improvements at the Durango-La Plata County Airport.
I move to approve an ordinance authorizing the borrowing of funds by the Airport Enterprise Fund from the Colorado State Infrastructure Bank for terminal improvements at the Durango-La Plata County Airport.
I'll second.
Roll call,
Discussion first.
discussion.
I thank you for the presentation. I'm a big fan of the airport. I think you run a very good ship in your operations, the way everything is presented, the expansion, everything. I think it's very impressive, especially the amount of money that goes through it in the upgrades. But I have a question, and based on the public comment, because and you might not be the best person to ask. Maybe I should ask the city manager and the city attorney. Because we had a lease purchase agreement for the energy performance contract that bypassed the requirement for voter approval on a ballot because it was a lease. But this is actual borrowing of funds. So, city manager, city attorney, I just want to have the confirmation from either of you that we are following exactly the charter requirements on borrowing money. I assume that's the case, but I just wanna have
Sure.
that-
Tom, is Tony, I know Tony was there. Can we promote him? Because I know Tony has given me that information, but it's probably best if he's here to speak to it. But as he's being promoted, from what Tony has told me is that La Plata County Legal, because they're also joint owners, has approved this. Outside Bond Counsel has approved this, and I am assuming our city attorney has approved this. So those are the three, but just in case, I want to make sure it's Tony's area that he has an opportunity to address to make sure I represented that correctly. Tony, are you there?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Sorry, I just briefly was joining there, and apologies to the council for my remoteness this evening. I'm traveling back from a family obligation and I'm currently in the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. So to address the question that was provided by council there, through this process over the last several years, the city has worked closely with both the city attorney's office, the La Plata County Attorney's Office as the co-owner and joint sponsor of the Durango-La Plata County Airport, as well as outside bond counsel to confirm that the airport received a clear legal opinion on its ability to issue debt as an enterprise fund of the city of Durango and La Plata County. And it was cleanly concluded by all three entities, both city legal, county legal, and outside bond counsel, that was indeed compliant with both the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, TABOR, as well as the city charter. We have a written legal opinion from the city attorney's office noting specifically that the airport has the authority to incur debt against its revenue, which, as a reminder, is separate and distinct from City of Durango or La Plata County taxpayer revenue or general revenue funds, as an enterprise fund overall, and thus able to enter into a Colorado State Infrastructure Bank loan cleanly on that front. So that is our effort that we've taken to that point, and we feel strongly that given the uniform recommendation from three legal entities on this particular topic, that the airport is well positioned to be able to do this consistent with both TABOR and the city charter.
Thank you very much, Tony. I just wanted to have that response for the record, given that public comment was given in that sense. So I appreciate that, all involved. Keep up the good work.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, could we have roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
Councillor Woodruff,
Yes.
Councillor Youssef,
Yes.
and Councillor Bosman's.
Yes.
And then the next item, 12.2, is first consideration of an ordinance establishing city council rules of procedure.
I make a motion to approve an ordinance establishing city council rules of procedure with the exception of an amendment of section 2 of the parliamentary procedure reconsideration. And I've got a little handout that you guys can take a look at. You can see the highlight in green of the amendment. It does talk about how something can be brought up under reconsideration. And obviously Mark did 99.879% of the background here, but it basically allows the allowance of a new council if elected to bring up an old business item for reconsideration, other than the 18-month kind of cool down period. Mark, do you want to kind of highlight anything else there?
Yeah, it also, the original version could be interpreted to create an 18-month freeze to where nothing could be done unless you had a unanimous vote, and it takes that away too. So it allows new councilors and any councilor voting in favor to make a motion to reconsider within that 18-month period. And so the motion needs to get a second to get on the floor, but it's a motion as amended that needs a second to get on the floor. So there was a motion that was introduced, and Dave has offered a motion with an amendment for the floor tonight. And the amendment is germane to the original motion, so that's proper under Robert's rules. So you need a second, or it dies without a second. Oh, sorry. I didn't realize you just handed it out. Understand.
we get a second, maybe we can just have some conversation around it.
Okay.
But it's up to you guys. And
So you're basically saying it's the same thing, except for you're saying that if a new council is seated, they abide by the same rules.
if the new council is elected, then they can bring up an
And-
item for reconsideration without that 18-month
Okay,
being attached to it because they're new councilors.
Okay, I'll second.
Discussion?
Yeah, Sudie Marbury brought up a good point, and then I think that was one of your kind of, detractions from this initially was, having that 18-month, and I think I agree that having a new council it wouldn't be prudent to have them not be able to bring a reconsideration, especially if they're going to run on a platform like, hey, I'm going to change this, and then they don't have the ability to do so. So I think that was a point well made, and that one. I think it's pretty straightforward to allow a reconsideration without that 18 months being attached to it. But then obviously, if that gets brought up and then fails, then that 18-month period would start from that point. Right?
Yeah, you and I talked about the concerns that were raised and you asked for a solution to that. And I agree, it was flawed as it was originally introduced. And just like you explained it, new counselors deserve an opportunity to not be frozen out for 18 months. And if something occurs that was unforeseen, you need to have an ability to change something in that 18-month period. I mean, I thought I'd just tell you, this is common in other jurisdictions to prevent items being repeatedly brought up at every meeting every month and wasting the time of the staff and the public and everyone else on something that's just going to get denied over and over again. So it's a very common provision in rules in other jurisdictions that I've worked in and other jurisdictions that Jose's worked in.
So yeah, I'll make the same comment as last meeting. There's various aspects that make sense and are already done in formalizing, may be beneficial for this and future council. I am equally, as I mentioned earlier, I don't understand why this was brought up by the city manager, city attorney versus by council. I find some of the changes confusing and restricting council doing their job. There is the 18 months, which I disapprove of, and primarily for new councillors, but we don't have an issue. During my 3.5 years on council, I have not seen a councillor bring over and over and over the same topic. I do see staff doing it until with minor changes in the hope that then, council gets tired and just approves it. But councillors have not been doing that. So to me, the difference between abstaining and recusal, very distinct legal language that I was been explained on the county level, and we make it more confusing. So I just don't support this. I don't see the reason for this document. Time of adjournment is another one. But I do appreciate the solution on the 18 months for newly, because that was one I brought up specifically. New election, new councillors, and they have, if our community votes for councillors for a specific topic and they're all committed to it, that councillor should be able to bring things forward. So I appreciate that change. But without this document, we still have the same thing. So I think this document is not necessary. Thank you.
Do you have any comments, Melissa? All righty, roll call.
Counselor Bosmans, Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazzie,
Yes.
and Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
All righty, item 13, public comment on non-agenda items. Do we have anybody signed up?
We're pulling them up to call.
Public comment is encouraged on city-related matters. Matters of international political controversy, ideological or religious beliefs, or individual conviction are outside the scope of this forum. Please note, you must sign up prior to the mayor calling the item on the agenda. Signing up after the item is called will result in your name not being called to speak. Please begin your comments by stating your full name, your city-related topic, and if you are a resident of the city of Durango. Make your comments directly to the council. Do not expect a response from the council or staff. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person unless modified by council. Unused time is not transferable to other speakers. Comments must be specific to city matters. Profanity, hate speech, derogatory remarks, or other speech that is disruptive to the meeting will be ruled out of order by the chair, and any remaining time will be forfeited by the speaker. Exceeding the time limit infringes on the rights of others and is out of order. Only a majority vote of the council can modify time limits.
And it looks like there was 9 individuals who had signed up to speak under public comment for non-agenda items. And the first person we'll call up is Emily Frozian. And that'll be followed by Karen Pontius.
Hi, my name is Emily Frozian. I live here in town and I'm here as a resident, but I'm also here on behalf of San Juan Citizens Alliance. We're a local nonprofit with over 5,000 supporters. And I'm here to strongly encourage the city council to direct more funding in the 2025 budget to the city sustainability programs. The city of Durango passed a resolution to decrease greenhouse gas emissions by 50% from 2016 levels by 2030. And we have a long-term goal of 100% reduction by 2050. I was really excited to see Durango's greenhouse gas inventory accounting that came out earlier this year, and the progress that we've made thus far. But what I learned from that report is that Durango has only reduced 10%, leaving 40% to go by the year 2030. Additionally, I think it's irresponsible for the city to continue to rely on LPEA's actions to reduce city greenhouse gas emissions, especially when so much more can be done at the local level, such as updating our building codes. The Durango Sustainability Program Manager is responsible for 5 sectors: building, transportation, solid waste, wastewater, and natural systems. And the department heads are accountable to the manager, but the manager oversees all of this. And it's a really heavy load for an individual. It should not fall on just one single person to implement and reach greenhouse gas emission goals that we set as a city. And those goals are necessary in order to do our local part in averting the climate crisis. So for the 2025 budget, I'm asking the city to show a real commitment to the climate and environment that we are in by dedicating more funding to the sustainability program, both for more personnel and for more city sustainability programs. Thank you.
And the next individual is Karen Pontius, and that'll be followed by Karen Anisi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Karen Pontius. I live here in the city. Emily stole all my points, so I agree with every one of hers. And I'm here to talk about the sustainability plan. So she brought up a lot of really great points. I was glad 8 years ago to move to a city that took this so seriously. But we're not going to make our goals with the current efforts. So I do support adding staff to the sustainability department and raising the sustainability plan to a real priority, top priority item for the city. One thing that can happen is if we don't get on this and meet our goals by 2030, it could decimate the tourism economy. Snowfall is already becoming sporadic. Rafting season is, who knows what's going to happen, but I live right next to the river, and this was a weird one because it went down so quickly. Wildfires will continue to threaten the region, which we know. Let's see, what other point do I have to talk about? More must be done, and time is of the essence, so it's going to require the council to move sustainability top priority. So thank you so much for all the work you're doing, and let's get moving on this. Thank you.
And the next individual is Karen Anisi, and that'll be followed by Sweetie Marbury.
My name's Karen Anisi. I live at 1504 East Third Avenue. I attend many Engage Durango events, including the Midtown 60% Design Meeting, billed as an opportunity to review specific design elements of 3 possible malfunction junction fixes. I expected actual engineering plans with elevations, scales, grades, turn radii, at least during the presentation. What we got was a testimonial about the benefits of roundabouts, as in, you know, I think about this all the time. Every day I think about, I live, breathe, and dream about roundabouts all day long. These were it was a testimonial, and I would ask you to please actually listen to the audio of the July 10th meeting. And if it's true that the staff is being told this is all about building momentum and getting buy-in for what might be a predetermined choice, then the city council gets an A in marketing and sales, and so does the staff. But I also think about what happens when the average architect or citizen walks up with 3 sketches on a bar napkin and says, hey, how about if the, you know, I don't have any engineering on this, but how about if you weigh in on these drawings? There's no elevations, scales, or a critical numerical value, but how about if the staff just does a flash poll anyway? You know, the engineering and the hard cost impacts, we can drop them in later. So my question for the council is, when does the public get to see actual engineering and budget? Does that happen at the 11th hour after the city council has incrementally thrown more money at something for an effort like this? I'm concerned because I don't know what the city expects after they've paid for what is a 60% design, but I'd like to see more than what the public is getting, including I'd like to see some written cost estimates. You know, whether it's malfunction junction or next step or whatever you intend to build in the library neighborhood, providing written cost estimates and actual engineering ought to be as important to the city as flash polls and imagery. And if it's not, and we're not going to learn anything of value, then just call it an open house with a sales presentation, and then you can save yourself this postage. I got 4 of them. We can all stay at home and take the flash poll from the comfort of our couch. I'm excited for the future of our city, but I'm also worried because I'm hearing about pots boiling over all over town, and it looks like there's no one in the kitchen. So I'm asking again for the council to please pay attention, to hold your staff to the same standard that you would hold anyone else who would want to build anything within the city. Thank you.
And the next individual is Sweetie Marbury, and that'll be followed by Chris Paulson.
My name is Sweetie Marbury. I'm a 50-year resident, a former city councilor, and the mayor twice. The 205 sales tax reauthorization is crucial to the police department. I support the selling of this city hall and the leaky shoebox across the street we call the police department. City council, this is not a slam dunk election for the new building. As a city council, each one of you must tell the public why this is crucial. Where is the opinion article in the Herald or the Telegraph? Which radio stations have you been interviewed on explaining the issues? Have you been to Rotary or the Kiwanis meetings to talk about these issues? Have you been on the local television station? You are the PR department for the city. You must carry the message to the voters. You don't have a Parks and Recreation Board. You don't have a Natural Lands Board to help you with this issue. The destruction of those boards has hurt the city. The 205 must be your priority to be successful at the polls. And now I'm going to bring up next steps and how it's hurting you. Next steps is a growing distraction. It's contentious, it's expensive, and we don't even know what it's going to cost. And it's unneeded, in my opinion, as a long-term resident of the city. Letters to the editor, Facebook post, downtown business owners are against next step. Business people that own buildings are against next steps. The 75 businesses who signed the petition should not be forgotten. Next steps is getting more press than the 205 reauthorization. Ask yourself, City Council, what is your priority? And it should be, the answer should be the 205 reauthorization. That's the priority of the City Council. Negative press is what you're getting because of next steps. And you need all of us to support the 205 reauthorization. You need me, you need my next door neighbor, and you need business owners to help you to work to get it passed. Don't let next steps get in the way of the 205. Thank you.
And up next is Chris Paulson. That'll be followed by Brian Rogers.
My name is Chris Paulson. I am a city resident, and I'm talking about this issue of engagement. I'm going to lead this article, and I would hope that City Manager Jose Madrigal would make sure that all members of the council got it, including Mark Morgan, the city attorney. And it says, this is an article from my hometown. I grew up in Fargo, North Dakota. It says, forum editorial. The city of Fargo is spending almost $1 million a year on its spin machine. It says these taxpayer-funded communications, quote unquote, teams aren't about transparency. They're about controlling the public relations image. One of the things is this isn't transparency. It's produced, stage managed, quote, news. It's all about controlling the message, not about making information more accessible to the public. Is this how you want your local governments to operate? To adopt corporate marketing and public relation practices? Now, as I've sat through this meeting, and I've had to sit through the entire meeting because, as somebody has clearly pointed out, you've moved the public participation to the very end in order to prevent people from talking to you. But I have to agree with that. And also, how much is the spin machine in the city of Durango costing us? Yesterday, I went to the neighborhood meeting, and about 9 people stood up. 2 of them were directly involved with so-called public relations. One of them was Tom Sluice, who's your PI, Public Information Officer. Another was your community engagement specialist. And I thought to myself, and then everybody who spoke at that meeting was all concerned about, they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know the process. What is the process? And I thought, you've got 2 people specifically being paid to do this, and yet nobody knows what's going on. And of those, and I was thinking, okay, those 2 people have wages, they've got salaries, plus there's a benefit package. You know, what else is in the spin machine? And what I'm hearing tonight, sitting through this meeting, in fact, a couple of the people from the this public participation group are also talking about this lack of information. So you guys need to do your job, and you need to hold your staff accountable. And I want to make mention of the fact, while one of the people was talking in their public information, Mark Morgan, the city attorney, Jose Madrigal, the city manager, got up and stood behind the council and were visiting among themselves. I found that to be very rude. You know, if you're interested in listening to public comment, then listen. Don't stand and just ignore people who have spent their time and energy to come to this meeting and sit here for a couple hours because you've moved public participation to the very end, and then just very dramatically get up and start visiting amongst yourselves behind the council. I don't know where things are going, but I think the council needs to hold these people accountable, and let's get some figures about how much we're spending on so-called spin that's not telling people anything. Thank you. And please get that copy of that article to everybody.
Brian Rogers is next, and that'll be followed by Antonia Clark.
Hello, my name is Brian Rogers, and I am a City of Durango resident. I am also here to speak about the sustainability plan for the City of Durango. I want to echo a lot of what Emily said and Karen, but I also want to point out of looking at this as a crucial investment in this coming up year. There are lots of federal funds that may be expiring soon, that as a city, we could be available, that could be available to the city. So I encourage you to take action now in this upcoming year to create more room in our budget so that we can access those funds, so that we can hit those plans. The greenhouse gas emissions targets by 2030 We are not on track for those, but it's not too late. But it will require some serious investment in these next couple of years. So please consider doing that and honoring your commitments. Thank you.
And next will be Antonia Clark, followed by Alyssa Ray, who I believe may be online.
Some picture packets I'd like to share with the council. I'll flip through these really quickly. But I think I can explain my point a lot better on the photo. My name is Antonia Clark. I have a bunch of property, commercial property in the city, and I live in the county. I've lived here my entire life. I'm here to talk to you about how safe Main Avenue is for motorists exiting their cars, getting their children out of the back seat, cyclists driving up and down, riding up and down the street. We keep hearing about how safe next step is going to make Durango safer, which it is not, and this is part of what I'm talking about. The first picture shows you our Main Avenue. We've got those little marks where you're supposed to park your car. If you don't park your car there, sometimes you get a ticket. That may have happened to you. It certainly happened to me. The car door is open. The person is getting out. If a cyclist drove by right there on the center line or on the white line, they would be perfectly safe. The second picture shows a woman, actually a handicapped friend of mine, getting out of her car. She's perfectly safe. The trolley's gone by. It's a white vehicle. She's not in any sort of danger. The third picture shows you a big pickup truck door opening. The next picture shows you an elderly man getting out of the truck, standing in this safe 3.5-foot space that you have between your travel lane and the parked vehicle. The next picture shows you that he is an elderly person. He's slowly making his way to the sidewalk, and he's perfectly safe. If a car goes by fast in the travel lane, he's under no danger. I wasn't quick enough to get a picture of this gentleman on page 6 getting out of his car, but you can see that he has braces on both of his knees. I was in behind him. He threw his car door open into that 3.5-foot safety space. He hoisted himself to his feet, very slowly made his way to the sidewalk. He was perfectly safe, never endangered of fast vehicles or people looking at their cell phones and weaving. We have a very safe downtown because we have this 3.5-foot space. Page 7 shows you how with big vehicles, the mirror sticks out of that parking space. So when you take away that 3.5-foot space, that person's parking mirror or backup mirror is going to be in the driving lane, which is going to be narrower than it is currently. Page 8 will show you how you've got a trolley and a delivery truck. Lots of room, everybody's safe. Page 9 shows you a very wide vehicle parked in your 12-foot unloading zone. If you make that 10 feet, that vehicle is barely going to fit, and the driver that's getting out and trying to deliver his goods and make a living is going to be endangered. Page 10 shows you the Dale's Delivery Pale Ale truck who has to unload on the side of his truck. And when he's standing out in the 12-foot space, he's perfectly safe. If you make that a 10-foot space, he's going to be in the travel
Point of
lane.
order, the time is about up.
Okay.
Excuse me, they started the time early when she was handing out her documents, so let's continue.
Thank you. So pale ale guy, you can tell anybody that's been in the beer business knows that these things are big and they're heavy and it's difficult for them to maneuver, especially if they have to stand in a traffic lane. Cyclists ride on the right-hand side of the lane. Next steps calls for them to ride in the middle of the lane. I don't know any cyclists except maybe really good cyclists who are comfortable riding in the middle of the lane. They want to be safe, and which is on the right side of the road. And then they duck in, all the time, they duck in to the yellow zone and the red zone to get out of the traffic. Next steps is going to put those people in danger. If somebody swings their car door open, the cyclist is going to get nailed. I had that happen to me when I was in college. Linda Mannix had that happen to her. The last page shows you a bump out that is positioned where your car would be positioned for next steps, except that there's an 8 inches more in this lane than there will actually be in a parking lane. So I just beg you to consider the safety ramifications of widening our sidewalks and narrowing our lanes. And then this last lane will show you that our safety record, which has been provided by the city of Durango, shows that we have become safer and not less safe. Let's keep it that way. Thank you.
The next individual is Lisa Ray, who indicated that they were online. Lisa Ray, Lissa-Ray. Okay.
Yeah, Ben, I'm not seeing her.
No problem. Then the last individual we had to sign up was Charles DiFerdinando.
I'm been a resident of Durango for 70 years and 3 months. I plan to be a resident for quite a bit longer. I don't like to see the direction that Durango's going. You as elected representatives of the people are not doing your job. These public engagement meetings are a joke. You go to these meetings, you don't get a chance to voice your concerns. The meeting is so regulated that there's a predetermined outcome. The public doesn't get to put in any meaningful comment. And I remember the days of Bob Ledger and Representative David Smith, that was the attorney. You could argue out a point with them. Today, you don't seem to want to listen to anybody, and you push everything off onto staff. It's the tail wagging the dog. You're the dog and you need to wag the tail. And you need to get staff under control and listen to people. This town is going to hell in a handbasket. And the idea that developers can do whatever the hell they want it is really offensive to me. This town has really changed, and it's not for the good. And I would beg that you really consider changing the way that you do business. I like to see you on the hot seat. That's what elected people are supposed to do. Is we're supposed to be able, you are employed by us. The city attorney and the city manager are employed by you. You need to tell them what to do, not listen to them telling you what to do. Thank you.
And there was no one else who registered to speak under item 13.
All righty, thank you. Okay, so under number 14, is there any other new business that anybody would like to bring up? Counselors?
I'd like to bring up for reconsideration the tabling of the introduction of an ordinance authorizing the leasing of city-owned property located at 1917 East 3rd Avenue to Head Start Durango 4C Council Tri-County Head Start Program. Since we had moved the table and that vote failed and I was on the losing side of that, I would like to reconsider tabling that for a future meeting, probably August 20th.
I'll second.
Set the proper procedure. We had that agenda today. It's new business items on the agenda today.
So a motion to reconsider can come up at any point during the meeting. He brought up in a new business, but he could bring it up anytime he gets the floor. That's in Robert's rules. It is appropriate because the new rules have not gone into effect yet. So it doesn't matter if you're on the winning side or the losing side. So you have an appropriate motion to reconsider the motion to table on the floor. Because he moved and there was a second.
What date that you mentioned?
Sorry, next meeting, August 20th.
So wait, hold on. I think you need to say discussion first.
Yeah, we're in discussion, but yes, discussion.
And so it's a motion to table, I'm just trying to make sure everyone's on
Yep.
the same page. It's a motion to table the motion to introduce the lease.
Has-
So we're still not getting to the point where we're having any dispositive decision made on anything.
That's the motion I made in the first place.
It is.
I know, and I voted against it, and I'm reconsidering voting against it.
And let me, if I could just, I'm gonna, the lady who was critical of the city manager and I speaking, you're correct, and I apologize. The direction or the result of that vote was inconsistent with prior direction of the council, and we thought something like this might happen. So we wanted to make sure that we could advise the council correctly on how to deal with it, because it was inconsistent with prior votes of the council. But you're right, that was rude, it was inconsiderate, and if I find that lady, I will give her an apology. But that was the reason for it.
All righty, thank you, Mark. Okay, so we've had, we're gonna reintroduce ordinance 861 on the agenda item at the next meeting. Do we need to vote on that, or since it's being reintroduced, it's just gonna be added to the agenda?
It would just be the introduction again, so it would be
Okay,
another
all
2
righty.
weeks to actually bring up that conversation again. So this just pushes it back another 2 weeks.
Okay, and anything else?
Yeah, I just want to understand here. A new business item, if it gets support, there's no discussion, and then it gets considered for discussion the next time, and then it would become either an ordinance or a resolution. That's the way we've been doing it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, can we get a little bit more time? Are you willing to just add another couple of weeks?
So
we have
here,
time to feedback?
so here's why I wanna, I'm tabling it to the next meeting. I have a genuine concern that ProStart may lose out on any sort of application window on this grant funding. So I would like to move on this sooner than later, even to table it for another 2 weeks to give the public notice, not only 2 weeks, but now a month, to have more conversation around how we're going to potentially go about this if we do go forward with it. But I worry that if the application process, the grant powers that be are not available, or that they don't see this as that public-private partnership, where we're, going from 22-25, I think is what, 21-25?
45 to 90.
What's
Oh,
that?
oh, I thought you were talking about childcare.
Yeah, it was $2,125 per month down to $10 per month. And I worry that if they don't see that as part of that application process, then that is going to be a negative in the column for that, being able to get that grant.
Yeah, I'm looking at the grant language on this, on the agenda. Am I missing something here? Is this the grant discussed even in the agenda item?
Excuse me, point of order here. Okay, so all that we're discussing right now is the fact that we're going to reintroduce 861 next
August 20th.
August 20th. And do we need a motion on that, or is it just going to be automatically?
We have a motion and a second.
Okay, so let's have a vote.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yeah, we can table it.
So yes?
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
and Mayor Pro Tem Yazi.
Yes. Okay, I have an item I'd like to add. Since there was concern about sustainability in Durango, and since we went ahead and we finished up the solar project, we're giving free rides to local residents in Durango. And the recycle center had completed their upgrades. I'm wondering if we could have our sustainability department start working on an update to how much progress we have made. And it doesn't have to be immediate, but as long as they start considering that we can present at a future date.
So with this being new business, what we have kind of looked to, and these are one of the reasons why we have rules to make sure that we've got them, it was that we'd put it on the next agenda meeting under new business with your name, and then it can be voted on, and we can also give a staff presentation.
Yeah, as
However,
long as we get the ball rolling, just so
Then
we can update the public on the fact that we have been working on sustainability.
Then we can place it on under new business items, this item with your name on it to be voted and discussed by council.
Alrighty, are there any other new business items? If not, I move to,
This is process. So you bring up a new business item, you give an answer. Aren't we supposed to support your new business?
You would do that at the next agenda. The next agenda would be that item to discuss if the council wants to place it on an agenda.
So, but that's a whole different approach. Does that?
That was a reconsideration.
Oh.
are you clear now?
Things
Okay.
just seems it's okay.
We all have to be flexible. Okay, so if there's no other new business, I call for adjournment. Okay.
Second.
Roll